Welcome. This is episode 19.
19.
And we have a special guest with us today that we're going to abuse on camera.
Awesome. Let's do it.
By the way, this is Dio. He's visiting us from Texas.
He's another C.H.E.K practitioner.
This is Ruben, and this is Aram. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about how to rev up your sex life.
Woohoo! There's nothing better than three bold guys talking about sex and how you can rev it up.
Check it out.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm pumped up.
Right.
So Dio, tell us, why has your love life, your sex life decreased?
It hasn't.
Good. All right.
Good.
How did you manage it?
Well, the first thing I have to say
He's married,
is
by the way.
Eating fat in my life has helped me to stay active.
What kind of fat, buddy?
Actually, saturated fat.
There you go. Listen to these people. Very important. We're talking about saturated fat. The same fat that your MD will tell you that is not good for your heart, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's all crap. There is a caveat that obviously you want to eat fat from an animal that's healthy, that is free range, that has had a decent life, because that animal is going to be healthy. However, if you're eating saturated fat from an animal that's sick, that's what the animal will deposit all the toxins that the liver cannot process. So that is a little differentiation that you have to be very aware of. So he's talking about saturated fat from healthy animals.
So let's talk about, let's say, how do we can help people, guys, girls, to get a better sex life?
Well, first
what
of
do you
all,
think from our perspective what we can do?
Well, it's not only guys and girls. It could be at any given
Animals.
age. Animals too. Farm animals.
Well, we're not into helping animals.
I think like how we can help people is to do the opposite of what every single person is doing out there. And we can go to the point that people always follow athletes or people that are like in another level. What happens, guys, right now is like even athletes or young people are using these pills to keep going or to actually
something like Viagra and stuff.
And get excited out of that, and they have so much power because of the media. So people start following them, and they just don't look at the basics of things, And I think as a man, it's pretty embarrassing these days that we have to use pills and stuff to have sex, or even ask somebody else to see if you could have sex. That's pretty embarrassing, not only for men but for like humans.
For sure,
For
sure. So ultimately, why even guys in 30s even have this issue?
It has to be nutritional. They don't move. We're meant to move as humans. So it's lack of movement. It's junk food. I don't know, can we mention some names? People,
No. I want to get in more trouble than we already are.
People know what junk food is,
Right.
And that's the real problem.
Okay, so poor nutrition.
Yeah, poor nutrition, which he mentioned junk, but also understand that anything that's processed, we categorize it as junk as well, because that food is devoid of any life force. Obviously, it's not going to provide you anything. All it does is actually takes energy away from you. And we talked the other day about working in, working out, eating food that has energy versus food that has no energy, how it drains you instead of potentiate you. Well, there you have it. That's one more thing that would affect your sex life. And interestingly enough, when people get affected at the sex level, they will react pretty quickly. So when a guy,
hopefully,
he will sure as hell wake me up if that was my case. But unfortunately, what happens is that they always have the aid of a pill, the aid of whatever they might be taking on the side that is going to help them maintain an erection for 3-4 hours, and that is just pathetic.
3-4 hours.
That's what it says,
Because
then they tell you,
it's really unnecessary.
Yeah, the doctor will tell you, or the person making the advertisement on TV says, if you experience an erection for more than 3 hours, call your doctor. If I'm experiencing an erection for more than 3 or 4 hours, the last person I'm going to call is my doctor. I'm going to call everyone else.
Unless you're sleeping with your doctor.
Yeah. But you can even call your nurse, it's better.
Absolutely.
So let's, besides the jokes, let's figure out this. It is stress related, yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
So ultimately, you can refer to episode we talked about stress, yeah?
Yeah.
Stress, good versus bad. And the important part that when you're under too much stress or you accumulated enough of stress, you get into what's called a cortisol steal response. Yeah? And a cortisol steal means that your body requires a lot of stress hormone called cortisol. And precursor, so something that the cortisol made out of, which is called pregnenolone. And before that was a cholesterol, by the way. So cholesterol, pregnenolone. After pregnenolone, your body can make either cortisol or it can make sex hormones, which are all your female and male hormones, testosterone, estrogen, and all those things.
Etc.
So ultimately, if your body requires a lot of cortisol, then there's not enough of precursor or pregnenolone to make sex hormones, and you end up having suppressed sex function. And ultimately, the only way you can reverse it is by decreasing the amount of stress and start balancing your life. Remember, gain, drain. When you have issues within sex life, there is a drain, a big one in your body somewhere. So we got to learn how to plug those drains and how to increase the gains. So any particular suggestion? Go ahead.
Have you guys been talking about zone exercises and stuff?
Yeah, we talked about energy exercises the other episode.
Sure. I guess they can click on that episode. And then
Absolutely. It's about working in and working out.
Absolutely.
Working in and working out.
Yes. So let's say from what Dio mentioned earlier, that we don't move enough. We don't. And sometimes we move too much. Because what happens is that we're going to have endurance athletes that, they do move too much, and perhaps they're eating right. So that will be too much of a drain on them. But if you're over-exercising and you're not eating correctly, you're going to drain yourself quickly. If you're over-stressing and not eating enough, drinking enough water, or sleeping enough, you're going to stress yourself more than you can handle. Your sex drive will begin to dwindle down because you're creating what Aram mentioned earlier, look at it, by cortisol escape, pregnenolone steal, or adrenal fatigue. It's all the same thing. So you can research it under all three titles. And what happens is that the body, like you said, it will divert all the resources to make more stress hormones to continue that vicious cycle that you're caught up, and not divert the resources to make this, the sex hormones, which is what keeps you healthy, vital, and erect.
Well, and also it's not only these things about just the sex; it's to have a healthy family and healthy children.
Of course.
I am a dad myself right now, and I've heard so many people saying that, well, I keep trying and it has become like a race to have babies, where many people have to go back and look at the basics of what is this thing that's going on in my body that I'm not being able to reproduce, the species, it's just pretty simple stuff that we have to go back and, connect with the basics once again. So, and after that, lactating is a whole different issue, but
is that your problem?
No. But the thing is, we focus on what is not, so we're seeing the problem, or we're looking in the wrong direction.
Well, that's what happens. That's one of the approaches that corporations typically use. They look at what you are incapable of doing, and they give you a sidestep, a solution. They don't tell you the other probabilities that exist outside of looking at the way that they try to market you. So they tell you have a problem, you have erectile dysfunction, ED, but we have a pill. So don't worry about erectile dysfunction because we have a pill. Instead of telling you, listen, you're stressed out of your mind, you need to chill out, you need to rest, you need to do good food, relax, have a pleasant conversation with friends and family, stuff like that, and things will begin to evolve the way they're supposed to. But instead they tell you, no, we have a pill, keep going about your dysfunction for as long as you want, because so long you have the blue pill, when it's time to hit it, you'll be ready.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And we only spoke, like Dio mentioned, very, very wisely before, that we only talking about the physiological response. There's going to be a psychological, there's going to be a mental, and there's going to be a spiritual response to not being able to function as a man or as a woman, not being able to reproduce yourself, which is a God-given right, so long you take care of your body. If you don't, well, guess what? That right is you taking it out of the equation. Nobody else does.
Basically, nature doesn't want you to reproduce.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of like nature say, hey, if you're weak, why would you reproduce?
Well, that's who we are. We are the survival of the strongest.
Exactly.
So ultimately, what's the best suggestion? What's your best suggestion for revving up sex life?
You know what? Do the opposite of what society is doing, and do the opposite of what you're doing right now. Because certainly it's not working. So if you want different results, then do something different.
Absolutely.
So look for a solution, something different.
By definition, insanity is the performance of something over and over and expecting a different outcome. When you do the same thing, you have to have always the same outcome. And that's why people literally go crazy. So try something different. That's what he's telling you. You know?
How about you?
The first thing I would tell people, eat enough saturated fat. Number one, take it from butter, from good healthy food, good healthy meats per se, and also in the intake of coconut oil. That's one of the tricks.
Correct.
Right. One thing I would recommend, if you don't know if you're under a lot of stress, there's one thing that we do. Well, a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
It's obvious for us,
Yeah,
but for them it's not obvious.
Because they may be listening in a different planet. I forgot. I'm sorry. Because now we're multi-planet, interplanetary.
There's such a thing as adrenal stress profile test.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a saliva test that you can take. If you're interested, you contact us.
You can provide it.
We'll be very happy. We ship it to your house. You collect the saliva, send it to a lab. We can figure out how much cortisol flows through your body, and ultimately tell you if you have some sort of adrenal fatigue or not. If you're truly interested in knowing if you're stressed or not.
Right.
Now, majority of people that I encounter tend to be on some sort of adrenal fatigue.
Right.
So, ultimately, start having a better life. Start having a better nutrition. Start drinking water. Sleeping better.
More often.
More often. Eating the best food the money can buy. Listen to all our video blogs that we put out. All the 17 or 18 episodes we did.
You are what you eat. And nobody can tell you otherwise. So if you eat in processed, crappy food, that's what you're going to become. You're going to become another process, and you're going to become another crappy person, another victim. You're suffering, being in pain, and not functioning well.
That's it for this.
All right?
Yeah?
See you later.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you later.